Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the Telemedia News in 10 with me, Jarvis, Todd, and him, or there, or there, or there, Paul Skeldon, who's the esteemed editor of Telemedia Magazine, Telemedia News, and has constantly got his head right in telemediaonline.co.uk, as should all of you. So this is our bi-monthly attempt at racing through the news in 10 minutes. This time we're going to hit it. I would just say, if you do watch this video on LinkedIn and we don't hit 10 minutes, it's going to get cut short. So please go to the telemediaonline.co.uk website, go to the viewpoint section, and you can see the whole darn thing. So Paul, it's been a good week, and the first thing is a whole bunch of stories talking about how blooming marvellous DCB is, but from my point of view, sadly, all outside the UK. So do you want to take us through the main points?
Massive amount of stuff about carrier billing. It's I've never seen so much activity around it. I don't think, not in one concerted push. I think driven by the fact that so many people are at home and using their mobiles that across the world, it's just becoming an obvious way to get people to pay. The interesting ones really are things like Google Play are using it. They've already used it a few times with Bango and various other people, but that's really come to the fore. The most recent example being in Malaysia for TuneTalk, working with Fortumo.
Our old friends Fortumo again.
Absolutely. Who are also doing it with Epic Games to pay for Fortnite battle passes, which is I mean, Fortnite's massive if you're under 20.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you ever played that?
No.
Do you even know what it is?
Vaguely. I have an idea. I'm up with the kids. Down with the kids. Up and down with the kids. So yeah, it's the interesting thing about Epic Games and Fortnite is the dynamic pricing element. Carrier billing there is starting to come through, which I think is really interesting. And also in Germany. And Switzerland, I believe, Dance, which is a German sports streaming service, is also charging now for, or offering to carry billing as a way of paying for some of the clips access on there, which is a really mainstream thing. I've long argued that sort of sports clip consumption is ideal for carrier billing. It's a sort of dip in, just get those goals, get those highlights. And clearly that's all happening out there in Germany. Also, we're seeing it in Peru. Docomo working with Claro in Peru to use DCB in the Samsung Galaxy store. Viettel in Vietnam are working with Digital Virgo to just generally grow DCB. And all of this is contributing to a study that came out, I think last week, about showing that there's a 13.5% sort of annual growth rate now in carrier billing revenues, which is set to continue between now and 2023. So all starting to happen there with carrier billing.
Well, so basically, it sounds like DCB is the only thing that can travel freely around the world at the moment. The other thing that struck me about the Epic Games story was that it really emphasised that there is plenty of flexibility with DCB because they've got some quite complex pricing requirements, and also they mentioned the tokenization side of gaming, which I've actually been looking at a lot for the Telemedia conferences. And in fact, we've got some quite exciting news to break on that in a few weeks' time. The other thing about that was right at the end, they said the other reason why that they were using it, or the other functionality that they introduced, was automated refunds, which brought me onto a story which I have to say it did not exactly excite me. But I think it's boring but important that Bill Mobile can now make refunds on phone bills. I mean, it does seem surprising that is news, but clearly one of the things that really struck me about that, and we've talked about the idea that DCB should become far more widespread, and with the implementation of PSD2, it is likely that more customers than ever are going to be using Charge to Mobile to pay for stuff. So it's not exactly that surprising that unless there's a sort of an easy, trusted, reliable refund mechanism that's not just linked to somebody saying, oh, well, I didn't really use that service, or my 3-year-old pressed pay and I didn't mean it, which I think is where that's kind of those issues have come from in the past. It is absolutely right that we should have a decent refund service, and unless we do, then consumers just aren't going to trust it on the widest scale. So It sounded boring, but actually I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, I think it's the crucial part of the puzzle, isn't it? I mean, it's not really even just about a matter of trust. It's just a matter of practicality. If you can't get a refund that way, then it's sort of only half a payment mechanism. So yeah,
exactly.
But I think that also getting that working and accepted also has ramifications for gambling, because it may be a potential way of getting winnings back out of gambling services.
Quite right, and more on that later. Just one final point on that. What was interesting, so of the 6 or 7 pieces of news, all of which were similar, it was all network aggregator providing DCB in this country for this exciting mainstream content, all the same. But if you take all of their PR and you just take out all the words that kind of resonated with me, and there were things like faster, easier, removing friction from mobile commerce, speed, simplicity, convenience, strengthens customer relationships with brands, transparency and control over purchases for subscribers, accelerating revenue and user growth, simple checkout flows, I mean, the list goes on. All of those things that were in those PR pieces were all the kind of USPs, all it absolutely encapsulated the pitch for DCB, which when you put it all together, you think, honestly, I mean, we have to expect so much more of this, and we have to be looking and saying, particularly in the UK, for example, why is this market not growing absolutely exponentially? We obviously think it will be, but it was very interesting to see that everybody seems to understand the USPs, and it can't be long before we're absolutely using this in every single aspect.
And I think getting that message out there is something that operators need to also do. We've long talked about that as well. That there needs to be a sort of joined up message on the getting all those keywords, as you said, out there to people. In the United Arab Emirates, Bango, working with the operator there, did some marketing around the benefits of carrier billing, and they got a 20% increase in sign-up rates to various services. So proof positive that if you actually do it, it does work.
There you have it. Okay, moving on. Voice is still important, Paul.
Certainly is. Yeah, we've covered things about voice in the lockdown, people turning back to making ordinary phone calls and all that kind of stuff, because they don't want to look at a thumbnail of themselves all the time while they're talking. Equally, though, we've seen that I think with more people doing online shopping and everything online, they're wanting to, or there's an increase in customer service calls, and 15% of them, or only 15% of them, don't want to do that by voice. 85% of consumers want some sort of human interaction with brands when they talk to them. Which ties in nicely with some stuff we ran in the magazine, and which is also on the website, about international premium rates, which is with our friends at Quack, who are seeing, again, that being used in sort of a customer service aspect. So there's, I think, sort of 2 things happening there. Voice still quite important and being sort of driven along by customer service, and international premium rates also seeing a sort of legitimized market through the customer service aspect, particularly across Europe.
And on that customer service note, of course, the first question I had about the research was there any discussion about how customers felt about chatbots? And obviously that leads on to A2P messaging with WhatsApp and RCS coming around the corner. Did they ask about that kind of stuff? Or
they didn't really get into that sort of side of it, but I think the obvious implication is that consumers are wanting to sort of contact brands with all those channels: WhatsApp, SMS, FaceTime, RCS, all these things. At some point, though, they might want to say, "Oh, this is no good. I need to talk to someone." And I
which
think
brings us on to open market.
Well, absolutely, and I think Open Market are doing some work there with RCS, SMS, and MMS to try and help companies transform their customer service by sort of getting, I think, people who are not technically minded within companies to be able to build these services. And I think the difficult part is that integration between where you do the automated bit, where you do SMS, RCS, all that kind of thing, how you then seamlessly escalate that to a human if someone needs to talk to them, or a chatbot, or how that'll work. So that's the hard bit. That's the next sort of piece of the puzzle, and I think that's coming down the pipe.
We're not going to hit 10 again, are we? Just on that Open Market press release about their new messaging platform, what was notable, I think, was that they've said it empowers less technical people with little or no mobile messaging expertise. So do you know anyone like that with little or no messaging expertise?
I mean, not off the top of my head, no.
No. So I mean, but clearly that's really important. I do know that we have used some messaging platforms in the past for World Telemedia, which have taken some getting used to. The other thing about that was that I noticed that they said that the new platform will enable brands to send messages that show their company name and logo instead of a phone number. Indigo takes an existing SMS and automatically upgrades it with the branded message. Does that mean that they will automatically detect an RCS capability, or is that something clever about SMS that we don't know about?
I think it's something clever about SMS at this stage. I think it paves the way for RCS because it will make it, it'll get people, consumers, used to that kind of approach, and you know, tapping on a logo in a message to initiate the contact or the call. It's not quite RCS, but it's it's that sort of middle ground, I think, pointing people towards RCS.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to skip the technical side of that and move swiftly on. There was a launch of a new, or the world's first 5G app agency, Non-Voice, which was comes from our old friend Simon Buckingham, who used to be a specialist at mobile stream. So, what did you think was interesting about this, Paul?
Well, I just thought it was quite interesting. Details are scant. In some ways, you think, I don't know what it means, but you know, I think that it's interesting to see that there is now someone starting to build into 5G the idea of an app ecosystem. The idea being that I think 5G apps that you're going to get are going to do some incredible things. What those incredible things are, though, not really sure, and it's hard to find what they are. So I kind of threw this out there as interesting because I want someone to come back and tell me what some of the things might be that will make these 5G apps and the 5G app ecosystem so exciting, and what we can expect.
I agree. I mean, in fact, I've asked them for some infographics so we can really see and compare what you get on 4G and how great 5G can be. And they pick out Giza, the competitive gaming infrastructure that makes games social with feature-rich gameplay. So I'm, you know, obviously assuming that it's games, but not as we know it, Jim. And then we've got Plotiverse, which is a dynamic photography solution, which helps content creators and brands create engaging special effects and animations. So I suppose that kind of speaks for itself. And obviously, we would expect that kind of content to be streamed seamlessly through the 5G network. And we'll have to hope that Boris makes that happen for us. We've also just ought to say that we're meeting again this afternoon, aren't we, mate?
We are indeed, yes, we are indeed meeting again this afternoon to plot and plan something exciting that's happening on the 23rd of July.
Is it your birthday?
It's not my birthday, no. I don't believe it's yours either.
No, it must be something else.
Can you share with the people what's happening on the 23rd of July?
I will. We're going to be running a webinar on which is supporting the fantastic carrier billing white paper that we put out for the iGaming sector, which is making the case for DCB in that sector. Recent studies show that significant growth potential for iGaming depends on accessing huge untapped demand for pay-to-play mobile consumers. They're your words, Paul. One of the biggest barriers to onboarding, as we all know, is this sort of reliance on capturing payment card details at the point of engagement. So it's all about evangelizing and showcasing why DCB is such a great opportunity for the iGaming market. So we're doing a little run through of that in my Hawaiian shirt, and that will come out on the 23rd. So please sign up for that and go to our website, telemediaonline.co.uk, and make sure you're there on the 23rd. I think that actually wraps it up. I don't know what our numbers are, Paul, but we're only 2 minutes and 26 seconds over. So I don't know what you're doing, mate. I'm off to the beach today. It's 25 degrees in West Sussex, and I guess you're going to be shuffling around in the sands of Telemedia to try and find some more interesting content that we can talk about in 2 weeks' time.
Trying to build the next virtual sandcastle for our podcast. So yes.
All right, mate. Well, I hope
get that shirt off and enjoy the sunshine. See you in a couple of weeks.